Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This time I'm watching Fidel Castro's Dairy Adventures by Salmonella Academy. Fidel Castro, if I remember correctly, was the communist dictator in Cuba. I think that's correct. And these are his dairy adventures, which don't know what that means, but we're about to find out.
Hey kids, let's talk about Fidel Castro. We're all familiar with Castro, right? Dictator of Cuba for the whole second half of the 20th
Okay, I was
century,
correct.
main antagonist of the Cuban Missile Crisis, you know. Anyway, this man loves three things. He loves Cuba, he loves communism, and good God, does the man love dairy. Yep, you heard me right. The all-powerful dictator of communist Cuba is obsessed with anything related to milk and its derivatives. I drew up a little chart here,
Okay.
right? I call it the Leche
I mean, that's not
Ladder.
that weird.
At the bottom you got dairy farmers, then you got Ross O'Donovan, then Mr. Bones, then starving babies, and then all the way up
hold
Ross
on.
O'Donovan, then Mr. Bones, then starving babies, and then all the way up at the top here, you got Fidel Castro. Today, I'm going to share a few true stories that illustrate his preoccupation. Okay, the first one isn't really a story so much as a fact, but according to several sources, Castro was known to be able to eat 18 scoops of ice cream after a meal. That's more than 2 pints. If that doesn't impress you, then go
Wow.
try it for yourself. Me, I can barely manage a pint and a half on an empty stomach, and Castro's doing it on top of a full meal. But it gets better. Being such an ice cream connoisseur, Castro ordered the construction of an ice cream shop. But this isn't your average everyday
Communism,
parlor,
everybody
not
is
by a long
equal.
shot. He built a straight-up ice cream
But not
complex,
really.
taking up an entire city block. This was a piece of
'Cause
modern
the dictator
architecture
gets
too, in
more of
total
everything.
contrast to the surrounding slums, all for the sake of ice cream. The place is called Copelia, and it's still open today. Of course, Castro's obsession went beyond just personal pleasure. Dairy was so dear to him that it often found its way into diplomatic interactions. Like one time, a French diplomat came to
Seriously?
visit, so Castro whips out some Cuban cheese. Specifically, though, it was Camembert cheese, a variety that France is famous for. French guy was like, hey, not bad, it's almost as good as the French kind. Try it again. I think you'll find it's even better than the French. Alright, I wouldn't say that.
It's poisoned.
I'm sorry. Are you disrespecting
poisoned.
my cheese? In my house? On my island? No, I mean it's good. I just said the French kind is better. Maybe if you froggy fucks
'Cause it
bathe
definitely
once in
is.
a while, you'd be able to taste the cheese instead of your own B.O. Listen, you've got your cigars, we've got our cheese, live with it. Fine. Fuck him, it's good
Yeah.
cheese. I'm paraphrasing
That's
just
fair.
a little bit, but that's basically how it went down. So already it's obvious that dairy is of great value to Castro. Most exceptional, however, is how this value reflected in his leadership. Naturally, having an entire nation at his disposal,
How does
Castro
that
wanted
affect
to
his
bolster
leadership?
the Cuban dairy industry as much as possible. But there was one problem. Cuba initially had two types of cows called La Reinas and Zebus. La Reinas came from the days when Spain ruled Cuba, and Zebus originated from India. Both of these cows are well suited
Okay.
to the Cuban environment, having a very high tolerance for heat. However, they don't produce much milk, they're mostly just raised for their meat.
Oh.
So Castro decides to import thousands of Holsteins from Canada. Holsteins are the classic black and white cows,
They're
and as
not
we all know, you can
from
juice these guys
Canada?
for days. They are utterly
From
superior.
Canada to
Only
Cuba, this
problem
is not going
they're
to
used
end well.
living in Canada, so when they're
Yeah,
plopped down
exactly.
under the
They're
scorching
used to the
Caribbean
cold.
sun, it's going to stress them out. They're not going to be laughing cows by any means. So as a result, Castro's imports still didn't put out enough milk to satisfy his desires. At this point, your average run-of-the-mill dairy queen would have given up. But Castro, he's more than that. He's a dairy dictator. So he ordered the construction of a giant air-conditioned complex with the sole purpose of providing a
Just for the
comfortable
cows.
environment for his Holsteins. And it helped a little bit, but they were still stressed out. They still weren't putting out at
Yeah.
their natural levels. And as you can imagine, climate controlling an entire facility is very expensive, so Castro was forced to
Expensive, yeah.
abandon the
That he
project.
can't
But
afford
like
that.
the astronaut he is, Castro held on to his dream of finding the Milky Way. So he gathered a team
Jesus
of
Christ,
scientists
he's
and
still gonna
farmers and ordered
continue
them
with
to
the
bring
damn
together
cows?
the Zebus and the Holsteins in order to produce a heat-resistant, lactose-pumping super cow. The breeding efforts were mostly a bust,
No.
never producing the bovine master race that Castro longed for. However, there was one exception. Under Castro's program, a single individual was born that met his expectations with flying colors. The cow was named
Really?
Ubre Blanca, Spanish for white udder, and she produced world record-breaking volumes of milk, peaking at 110 liters a day. That's more than
Wow.
29 entire gallons of lactation. Needless to say, Castro was absolutely euphoric at this isolated success of his. To say he went ballistic would be an understatement. He went intercontinentally ballistic. Like,
It's
India
just
hasn't
one
got
cow,
shit
my
on
guy.
levels of cow worship that Castro performed. Daily updates were published in the Cuban national newspaper describing Ubre Blanca's
worship.
health and
Isn't that what
productivity.
they
And when
do
she
in
died
India?
in
They worship cows?
1985, Castro
Or was it a
commissioned
different
a
animal?
giant marble
I don't
statue
know.
of the cow in her honor. He also had scientists harvest tissue and egg samples for the sake of preserving her DNA. After Ubre Blanca's death, Castro's plans for the Cuban dairy industry got even more desperate and ridiculous somehow. This is based off of an actual conversation that he had with his team of scientists in 1987. Okay guys, hear me out. What if we make cows that are the size of dogs, so that way they can live in people's apartments with them? Fidel, I don't
my
think that's gonna
God.
work. No, it'll work. You just have to grow grass in the apartment too. You can't be serious.
How would
yeah,
you
just
make
gotta
a
put
cow
up some
that small?
fluorescent lights.
They
Bam,
wouldn't
little,
produce any
little
milk.
grazing patch for your doggy cow. You are a fucking lunatic. And obviously nothing ever came of that idea, and Cuba's dairy industry is still floundering today, sadly. So yeah, if you haven't gotten the picture by now, the dude likes milk. Imagine he's at the birth of his grandson, right? Ah, what a beautiful baby boy. Fidel, there's something we need to tell you. Your grandson,
Oh
he's
no.
lactose intolerant.
Oh!
Prepare the firing squad. Anyway,
He's
there's
gonna
plenty
kill
of
him.
other miscellaneous stories surrounding his little preoccupation, like the time the CIA tried to poison his milkshake, so I just decided to highlight a few big ones.
The CIA
Anyway, that's all for today. Till next time, I'm Salmonella.
Oh, really?
Thank you
They
for
tried to
watching.
poison his milkshake? Did they fail? It's a damn shame they failed. I think Fidel Castro survived like more assassination attempts than Hitler. I think. Don't quote me on that because I don't know. But I think he did. Who would have thought that the ruthless dictator that was Fidel Castro would love dairy so much? Oh, he was definitely a lunatic. But at least he was passionate about dairy. About milk. What a fucking idiot. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, you know, the usual YouTube stuff. And I will see you in the next video.